Transitioning out of the military, it's difficult. Just about everything around you changes. I would get phone calls that brothers were dying, some of them to suicide. And I'd found myself in another cold cemetery. And I started to wonder if I was next. It's a struggle to know that you're facing challenges, but not be ready to face them. Sleep doesn't come easy. And when it comes, it doesn't last long. You're tired all the time. I didn't reach out for that help, but thank God my wife did. She got me registered for Wounded Warrior Project. Talking to somebody that would listen to me and understood my story helped me realize that it was time to change. There's a new fight, there's a new mission, and that's something I am eternally grateful for.
See how we help warriors combat stigma at woundedwarriorproject.org/combat stigma.
The next disaster is coming. The time to get ready is now. Make a plan. Identify meetup locations and people you'll need to contact. Put your contact list in your wallet, on your phone, and somewhere visible in your home. Build a kit. Store enough food and water for 3 days. Don't forget your pets. And consider buying a pre-made kit. Keep at least 7 days of medication on hand. Work with your pharmacist and insurance company to secure the extra doses. Make copies of important documents. Keep them on your phone, in the cloud, or on a USB stick. Stay informed. Learn about local hazards. Take courses in CPR and first aid. And sign up for local alert systems. An early warning can give you the time you need to prepare for a fast-moving disaster. Be ready. Learn more at americares.org/send-us-in.
The Ken Pittman Show, 1420 WBSM, New Bedford.
Welcome back to the Ken Pittman Show on a pleasant, cool morning here on the south coast of Massachusetts. Anytime you'd like to call in, 508-996-0500. And the first week of the Karen Reed trials now in the past, and it's getting interesting. Prosecution seems convinced, or is telling the jury that they can demonstrate that some of the things the defense has come up with are factually untrue. And the defense is standing its ground. So it's going to be, and this would probably be the biggest trial story in the country right now, were it not for the focus being on Donald Trump, who is in criminal and civil courts at the same time he's running to be the president of the United States. It's a really odd visual for folks. So it's obviously being sensationalized. I mean, this is a story that should be sensationalized. It is historic what's happening to Donald Trump. The hush money case, I mean, there's no crime. Even what he's being accused of is a misdemeanor whose statute of limitations ran out. Yet they go forward. It's remarkable what we're seeing. Jack Smith's case may be falling apart. Letitia James Jack Smith and down in Georgia. So all along, I've been telling you, my audience, that I think they know these cases are going to fall apart, whether upon appeal or whatever. And the punishment is the process. And what a week for the police, who are finally allowed to be the police with these encampments. The UCLA, I woke up at like 3 in the morning, I think on Thursday morning. Sometimes once I'm up. Typically, I don't know about you. I for my whole life, I think 5 or 6 hours was all I needed. Every once in a great while, I'll need my body to reset, and I'll get a good 8 or 9, but that is maybe once every 3 weeks or something. So I'm up watching this thing live and flipping back between CNN and Fox News. Fox was covering the police staging their strategy to break down this big encampment. And shame on the UCLA. Everybody's got to get fired there, first of all. They allowed these students and non-students, agitators, professional agitators, to come in with all this plywood. They sort of built this fortress around the encampment. They tried to keep the police back, but bike racks, plywood, and zip ties. Kind of reminded me, I don't know if you saw the old Pixar movie Ice Age, when all the dodo birds were very proud of the one melon they had preserved to go through the Ice Age. They felt they thought ahead. It was that sort of planning. And once the police got in, you didn't see much of a fight. They pretty much surrendered. It got a little real for them. And my long-range view of this, though, is if the Hamas influencers can come in and convince these kids all these things, all that you've known is wrong, and adults, and this is what's really going on. Like, this Matrix movie has opened the doors for so many conspiracies and so many people that doubt what their lying eyes and all this other stuff. Whether it's, a jetliner going by and poisoning the skies, and this massive plan, you probably heard of it, chemtrails. The problem the public is not recognizing, we just heard in the last hour, the Americans knew about Pearl Harbor. Some people believe that. I think it's pretty obvious at that point in December of 41 that the Japanese were going to make their move. I don't think they knew about Pearl Harbor. Why would they risk battleships? Why would they risk losing the war? They were not assured of a victory. In fact, many times it was in doubt. If not for the clever setup of the carrier force outside of Midway, World War II may have been lost. Plus, you had the Germans on the other side. So it wasn't. We didn't. All right, let's let them do this to get our people behind this. That wouldn't have happened. They could have dropped 4 bombs on an airstrip in Hawaii. That would have been enough to get the American people to understand it's coming. Let's do it. They wouldn't have given up all those lives. And the battleships, those battleships were needed. And they had a much, much bigger Navy at that point. Sort of like what we're seeing with China. And hopefully it doesn't come to that, but China feels it's inevitable. At least their statements would lead you to believe that. 508-996-0500. But the conspiracy theory industry is making bank, right? I mean, you get chemtrails, you get Pearl Harbor, you get a 911 insider job, you've got all these things that are happening in books, in videos, and people get, every time you hit that video and watch a conspiracy theory, somebody's getting paid. You buy that book, somebody's getting paid. They understand. But the byproduct is you've got what we're seeing all over. We've been fragmented by it in some cases. I mean, you have to I know history isn't a big thing for a lot of people, and they don't know the history, so that whatever they're told, that's the history. You know, like Abraham Lincoln said, not everything you read on the internet is true. For some people, they don't question that. Of course, I'm making a ridiculous statement to prove a point, but you lower the intellect, you lower the knowledge of the population, you control them better. That has been the model of the left. That has been the model of monarchies as long as history's been written. The knowledge is power. The power is for the elite. In 1830, the average sixth grader could read the newspaper or news bulletin that was handed out back then. They could read. They were educated at a much higher level than what we're seeing here. Our youth, even our college kids, it's amazing. I'm going to play a clip from one of the leading Marxist, respected American economists who tries to explain why printing all this money has no consequences. You're not going to believe how unprepared he is for a very simple question, and think that this is a person who is advising U.S. senators, past presidents, maybe even the current one. I don't think they've got him on the logbooks in the White House for the Biden administration, but he's certainly well-respected, well-known. And his answers will just baffle you, how he's almost guessing. This is a guy who would be teaching at Harvard if he wanted to. What else? NFL draft is set. The Patriots have their players. Your opinions on that? You know what I wanted you to do, too, because it's early enough. Help me with the best. Like, I have iTunes, so I can put a playlist together. A lot of you do. Something like that, Spotify, iTunes, whatever. Help me put together the best summertime or beach listening list I can put together. Like, I would put Steely Dan, Hey 19, Dance the Night Away, Van Halen, but I'm looking for some ideas for my time at the beach or wherever I am out at the lake up in New Hampshire or whatever. Spend a lot of time on the road traveling with the band. I love a summertime playlist. 508-996-0500. You're listening to the Ken Pittman Show. It is 9:18. It's kind of a cool morning, but very pleasant. If you're going to get out and walk or do something in the yard, you're going to do it very comfortably. And this is the time of year you want to take care of all that stuff. And it's not going to be hot, but it's going to be pleasant. A little cool just to be standing around without a sweatshirt or a sweater or whatever. I'm not a sweater guy. But if you're doing yard work, you can go out there and probably not sweat up, like you would in late June or whatever. 508-996-0500. I give the Patriots a B- on the draft. A couple of reaches and a couple of small mistakes, but they didn't do a bad job on paper. As long as this quarterback works out. If it doesn't work out, and you'll give a retrospect F. But I don't know how you do that because everybody and their mother said Drake May's the real deal. You got to go with him. You'd be stupid not to. You'd be crazy. They'll kill you if he works out. And you don't take him. I get all that, but if he doesn't work out, it's going to be a problem for this young new front office without Bill Belichick. And I do not like what the Patriots are doing. They're getting rid of slogans on the walls like "Do your job." They're basically, and I'm not going to change my mind. Robert Kraft is trying to diminish what Bill Belichick did here in New England. the Patriot way was wrong after all is really what he's saying. And I am not a Robert Kraft fan at this moment. He's doing all these passive-aggressive things. There was a report that he had called Atlantis and told the owner, look, you're not going to like this guy. Don't hire him, whatever you do. He's denying it. Of course he would, but I don't know if that's true or not. But he's been doing things that would make you believe it's possible he would make that call. And the cornball replacement slogans to do your job, and they're trying to prove they're not doing this to Bill Belichick. They're like, no, he's on the wall with other coaches in history. I'm sorry, he's not just another New England Patriots coach. He is the greatest New England Patriots coach, if not the greatest coach in NFL history. And they are really doing him wrong. And I'm embarrassed. I almost want to adopt a second team while I'm having my little tiff with the New England Patriots brass. And I can say that. Look, I've been with the Patriots. I've been since I was 8 years old. I sat in Schaefer Stadium and then Sullivan Stadium in the rain down 30 in 1990 in December. I went through those times. I suffered the loss in 85 against the Bears in the Super Bowl and celebrated the fact that they finally squished the fish in Miami. When Darryl Stingley was paralyzed, I watched. I'm qualified to say I'm a lifelong New England Patriots, and I am not happy with what the brass is doing. Game 7 for the Bruins, who faced a Game 7 situation last year and lost in overtime at home against Florida, who went on to the Stanley Cup and proved that they deserved to beat the number one seed, the greatest regular season team in history, the Boston Bruins last year. They were supposed to be depleted of all the talent, and really it was all or nothing last year. But they came right back and secured the high seed, and they're in a Game 7 against a very good Toronto team, so that takes place tonight at 8 o'clock. That's going to be a really great game to watch. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to The Ken Pittman Show.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. The one, the only. We got to find a nickname for you.
Why?
I just think you'd have a great. What would be a nickname for Ryan? I got to come up with one. Buckshot.
No, Ken.
No Buckshot. Well, think about it.
You with nicknames? I'm in trouble.
I got to figure out something.
If you're coming up with nicknames,
I got to think of something. The Bean. You know why? Because you got a good throwing arm. You can hit anything. The Bean.
Ken, I haven't thrown anything in a while. So
You've thrown a fit last week. You were mad because I wouldn't go to that thing with you.
What thing?
I don't know. 508-996-0500. You'll think of something.
Yeah, I know. I probably will.
So, what do you think about the Bruins tonight? Momentum is definitely on the side of Toronto, who has a better roster, right?
Yeah. And then,
According to the great Dave Grasso.
and then if you look at it, Game 5 and Game 6, Toronto was missing their best player, and this is what happened to the Bruins last year, Ken.
Yeah. That could have gone either way. That was an overtime win. I was happy for Florida, but it was almost reminiscent of what the New York Giants did, right, to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. But it wasn't in the Stanley Cup. It was just that sort of odds against them, and they won. And they went all the way to they lost by what? One game, Game 7, right, to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
That was a really good season for Florida at the end. Hockey really is about who's hot at the end.
Yeah. Like if Bruins win tonight, Ken,
Yeah.
they're out next round though.
Why?
They play. I think they play Florida again.
I understand, but I think Toronto has a better roster than Florida, from what I've been told.
Yeah, but
The revenge factor's there. They got a higher seed, more home games.
But if you look at this team, Ken, they're built for the regular season.
Woof.
Pastrnak hasn't done anything. Marchand hasn't.
You mean he's overdue? I could look at it that way,
Yeah,
right?
he's overdue to do something in the playoffs.
I mean, if you're a Toronto fan, you're looking at Pastrnak saying he's overdue. I'm worried about that. I would think.
But the goalie that Toronto has, he's been doing great, Ken. That's their backup goalie too.
But I mean, the Bruins goalies haven't been doing bad. They've just been out edged. I mean, these have been good games. What was Game 1 though? That wasn't a good game.
Game 1 is the one was like
5-1.
5-1, I think.
Yeah.
It was.
Other than that, though, these have been competitive games. And what do you think the score is tonight, if you had to lay it out?
Probably 2-1, Ken. Bruins.
You think the Bruins will win 2-1?
Yeah, they're at home. The fans for the Bruins better show up.
Momentum's everything. If I recall, Florida scored with almost no time left in the third to tie it and bring it into overtime last year. Didn't the Bruins have it just about secured and then they like seconds left or something?
We did that in Bruins did that in Game 6.
Yeah.
Scored with 0.1 seconds.
Like I said, I'm not a hockey player. I've always respected the skills, and it really is a great spectator sport. If you're just watching it, it really is a lot of fun to watch. So much action.
Have you watched the playoffs this year, Ken?
Yeah. Who do you think is the best team on the other side?
I don't know. That's a tough
A
one.
little more wide open, right?
Because the best team in the East is the New York Rangers, Ken.
I don't sweat them. I think Toronto, if we get past Toronto.
No. Rangers are tough, Ken.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure. But
And then you got Carolina out there, too. Ooh.
not an easy run.
Nope, not in the East.
Celtics, who are they playing? Has it decided?
They got to wait tomorrow after 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because they Game 7 of Cleveland and Orlando.
Cleveland in Orlando.
And it's in Cleveland for
Okay.
Game 7.
All right.
So
Let's take a call. 508-996-0500. You're on the air. Aren't you? Caller, are you there? Hold on. What's wrong here? One second. Bear with me. I don't think it's me. I think he's... Oh, there we go. Hi, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Karen Reed trial.
Yeah.
I've been following this thing every day. It's fascinating, but, sometimes you're sitting on the couch and you want to throw a rock at the TV. You hear time and time again, and obviously you can believe it or not, about she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. We have a firefighter that says it. We have a cop that says it. And I'm jumping off the couch going, if anybody looked at me and said I hit him, and I'm on the scene trying to grab information and data, why would nobody say, what do you mean you hit him? Did you hit him with your fist? Did you hit him with a shovel?
Right, and I don't blame her for even.
Believe it.
I don't even blame her. If I'm a juror, I would think I'm at the point where they'll get to they'll accumulate the knowledge where, all right, this is where she dropped him off. This is where he was found. Why wouldn't she consider the idea?
Yeah, but nobody. Oh yeah. We asked the questions. She says I hit him 3 times, and nobody says, what do you mean?
Did you ever see the movie My Cousin Vinny?
I did.
Do you remember when he was being interrogated by the sheriff, and the sheriff accused him of shooting the clerk, and in his New York accent, Ralph Macchio said, I shot the clerk. I shot the clerk.
Right.
Like he's asking if that's what he means, and the guy accepted that as his confession.
Yeah.
It's similar.
Yeah, it is. It's just so frustrating because you say to yourself, just the everyday person, that would have been the next thing out of my mouth. What do you mean you hit him? But nobody asked. Well, anyway, up to this point,
it is interesting, and I believe them that they heard these things, but I don't hold it against her that she said this, because I think, given the circumstances, she was inebriated. She admitted that. This is where she dropped him off. This is where he is. She was told by the girl next to her he never went in the house. What else is she supposed to think? I
know, and then the only other way I can spin it is, I know she's hysterical, which you can see on the camera, and maybe, now that the guy's dead.
She had blood in her mouth.
Whatever.
She had blood in her mouth from giving CPR nonstop until they came some 25 minutes later.
But the guy's dead, so I say to myself, supposing they got in an argument, him and her, and she hit him, slapped him in the face, and the next thing you know, he's dead, and that's why she's yelling out, the last thing he's going to remember is, I hit him. I don't get how they tie this. Well, anyway, I guess we'll figure it out.
Well, I thought she was implying that she was presuming that she hit him with the car, and I don't. Again, that doesn't even. I don't even hold that against her as a suspect or a defendant in this trial, because I don't understand how anybody would come to any other conclusion. This is where I dropped him off. This is where he is. He never went in the house, according to her. This girl next to me, who I now trust for the moment. Yeah. Well, so, boy, what else could have happened, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I've watched it every day, and it's like, Jesus, they go through the reports, and the defense, the reports are all wrong, the times are wrong, who showed up first is wrong. It's like amazing to me.
They can't even agree on the Google search times.
No, I know, everything's off. So I guess that's the whole point, is to keep poking holes in the evidence, and then at the end see what happens. But anyway, I find it very fascinating.
It sure is.
You have a connection to it, right?
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for the call. Hi, Carly, you're on the air.
Hi, Ken. How are you?
Good morning.
Good. I was wondering if you could switch.
Could I ask you to, could you turn down your radio just so we could hear you? Yeah, there you go.
Car radio, Bluetooth, not that.
Good morning.
Good morning. I just was wondering, I know you were in Florida a couple of weeks back, and I don't know if you got to meet any of the band members from Jacked Up, the guys who opened for you. Yeah,
we got a New Bedford guy down there.
Well, yeah, you got Larry Kirby.
He's talented. He's well known around here, well liked. And I was surprised that we had a New Bedford's own in the Jacked Up band. I didn't realize, because I had spoken with a band member who didn't tell me that, or maybe he wasn't aware that there was a connection, or he did and I forgot. Yeah. But when I realized, because I remember seeing him somewhere playing out.
Yeah, he's played out through here. I mean, they've been in Florida for a while.
Yeah.
But I just was hoping that you had made that connection. I had hoped to see you, but we left the day prior, right? And then actually we had dinner with the Kirbys and some other mutual friends. And he said, yeah, I'm open. And so when he named the band, I said, that's Kenny Pittman's band. Right?
We're going back. We're there on the 25th. We're playing in the Villages.
Well, the Villages, good luck with that. You might.
I know. I read. I'm not bringing any loofah.
No.
So he's talking about the caller's talking about down in the Villages, which is a retirement community. It is the fastest STD growing community in the country. Number one, and these wild older folks down there, and they have this code where the color of your loofah is an indication of your sexual preference, and they drive around looking for each other. It's crazy down there.
Oh yeah, that and then originally it was people would put colored tennis balls up on their roofs so they could know where they parked their car. So that's morphed into the fact that all kind of tennis balls on cars, and nobody knew what the hell that car was. Right?
Wow.
So that's kind of it's a world of its own, So I wish you well, and I'm glad that you got to meet Larry and
great group and a good band too.
Yeah, I'd love to see them come up and play the feast.
That would be great. Yeah, maybe Larry's got enough sway. I think he knows enough people where he could probably make that happen.
Yeah, that could be. That would be neat. That would be a good thing. All right, guys, have a great day.
Thanks for the call. All right. Yeah, the Villages. I'm not going out in the crowd this time. I might not make it back.
Yeah, you might not.
I'm not. Yeah, I'll be up on the stage, nice and safe. So 508-996-0500. Donald Trump. You see his hair yesterday in the trial? That was not Donald Trump.
No, I didn't see
typical hair. He had like bedhead. It was a bad hair day for the Donald. Which usually if there's no wind, he's fine. But man, he was a bit disheveled. Hope Hicks, his former attorney, on the stand. I think she helped him more than the prosecution was thinking. And they talked about her reaction, for example. This is what, before I get to this is what drives me crazy. They're asking her all kinds of questions about anything in hopes to find something while she's a witness in a trial that has a specific accusation. They are just looking for something. It's like the KGB, show me the person, I'll give you the crime. I mean, I've never seen this done to a celebrity American like this. I know it's been done to black citizens in the past. I mean, the rights almost completely stripped, unrecognizable to what whites were getting in this country at one point, if we're all being honest. But what we're seeing here in 2024 to a powerful man, it's unheard of. And I think some people are okay with that because, well, it should happen to the powerful. No man's above the law, but no man's below it either. And Donald Trump's not beneath the law. I mean, they're really going after him for things with expired statutory limits. They're going after him. They're just reaching and stretching and searching where they shouldn't be, where they should be as well. But that's fine. I'm okay with anything. Like if he's done anything and they can lawfully prosecute him, then he has to face the music. But the stuff they're doing it goes outside the boundaries. And I think I think these are all going to get wiped. I really do. And it's doing nothing but solidifying his base. More and more people jumping on. He's got twice the Black American vote. He's got twice the Hispanic vote that he had, according to the polls anyway, back in 2016 and 2020. So he's doing well in those demographics. And can the Democratic Party win if more than 12% of African Americans vote for the opposite party? I don't know. It doesn't happen too often. So what do you think it's going to come down to for you, Ryan? What's the biggest issue in America right now?
First of all, Ken, put my mic on. It's not even on.
It's not on. There you go. How's that?
There we go. Nope, it's still not on.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There you are. Okay.
I think the immigration issue, Ken. A lot of people are stuck on that one right now too.
Is the immigration issue tied into the economy?
I don't know.
I mean, the drain on public funds, things like that. Is it adding to inflation? Are we printing money that we shouldn't be printing? I can give you an example where I found it tied in. I want to point to there's a 36-year-old African-American New York City firefighter who died of a heart attack just months after being fired to pay for the growing number of illegal immigrants. 36-year-old guy, right, putting his life on the line every day, has 2 children, he's married, suffered a heart attack just a couple of months after this inexplicable firing in order to pay for hotels and catered food for illegal immigrants. This is what liberal America is doing.
Did he die? Did he die on the job, Ken?
No, he was fired.
Oh,
he was fired. They let him go. We can't afford you. We're going to pay for all this stuff for them because Joe Biden opened the gates, invited them. Joe Biden actually invited them. If you remember when he was running for president, he implied on the campaign trail a few times that if they can only get inside, he's going to give amnesty if they can get here. And that created all these caravans of hundreds of thousands. More people have crossed since Joe Biden has been president. More illegals have entered the country than there are people in Massachusetts.
Wow.
More than 7.5 million people live in Massachusetts. It is insane. More people have passed more than the population of 36 of these United States. It's crazy what we're witnessing. And nobody's doing much about it. I think that's going to change in November. You're in the air.
Oh, Ken.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not bad. So this Trump trial was interesting this week in the last couple of days because your top of the hour ABC news break that comes over WBSM, it said, Hope Hicks was on the stand and testified against Donald Trump and made his case worse with the campaign finance thing. That was a total lie. That was the biggest lie I've ever heard on ABC News.
Wait, how did they phrase it again for me?
I'm trying to paraphrase. They said something like, Hope Hicks testified against Donald Trump, which was wrong.
No, that is wrong. Yes, she did not.
She testified. And then that basically her testimony helped try to convict him on these charges of campaign, finance issues, whatever the exact,
Well, if they said that would be wrong. She testified because she was subpoenaed, and she wasn't there to do anything except for detail what her observations were.
Right. But what came out of it was she introduced a new narrative, which is that Trump was concerned about Melania's feelings about this story that came up, and that's basically it creates doubt in all the hearsay that's going on in this trial. But I think the thing is that I think they've already given up. I think Alvin Bragg and the entire team has said, let's just keep introducing salacious stuff. And at the end, they kind of know this isn't going to go anywhere because there's really no facts that.
There's a report. There's a report that Bragg was extorted, forced into this prosecution on Trump. You notice the federal prosecutors found no crime. You notice his predecessor wasn't able to find a crime and moved on, said there's nothing there. Bragg, there's a report that he was extorted. There's some dirt on him, so he complied in order to make this go away somehow. I don't know if that's true, but I got to look into that.
Yeah, Bragg's a pretty wealthy guy. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah. He's very
got,
successsul.
4 cars, 3 houses. He I don't know where he got his money.
Very successful law firm.
Okay, there you go. So, I mean, he's not like, some advocate out of college that got this job. I mean,
he unlike the one in Georgia, I don't, and Letitia James doesn't impress me. He, on the other hand, is a very intelligent guy. He's a far left guy, but he is absolutely capable of doing his job. He's not prosecuting, any of these protesters who are terrorizing Jews. He's not prosecuting people who are walking out with thousands of dollars of, goods in department stores, things like that. Department stores that are closing down because of this. He's doing nothing. He's letting them go as soon as they're caught.
Right. Yeah. I mean, retail. I mean, I service retail because I'm on the wholesale manufacturing side, and I just got back from the West Coast, California, and there's so many retail stores shut down.
What's the big one now? RUE21? What is that?
RUE21? I don't know.
I didn't recognize it. It was a story that a national chain is closing, retail chain closing, and I'm not surprised. Did you see the sales on like Ford and GMC? Like GMC Acadia is down 57%. The Explorer similar from last year.
Oh yeah, and they're stacking up. The EV cars are stacking up big time at the manufacturers because
forcing us into these things, and it's terrible.
Yeah, no, it's it's going to be interesting to see how the economy reacts. I know now they're trying to reduce the interest rate. I was surprised they said, well, we're going to try to keep it the same, even though some of the reports haven't been good this week. And then when the jobs report came out, they immediately came out yesterday and said, we're trying to figure out a way to reduce interest rates, even a quarter point, and to boost the economy. So I don't know. It's interesting times, but end of the day is the Trump thing is it's all it is right now is they even tried to introduce the Billy Bush tape, which has nothing to do with the trial and his what this is about, and and the judge said you can't play the tape, but they keep bringing it up in dialogue because their whole thing is they just want the press to report how bad this guy is. Trump said this in 2005, and
I mean, if we're being honest, it was a crappy thing to say, and especially to be caught saying. I don't know what, because they don't show it that far in advance, what Billy Bush did or didn't do in terms of getting the conversation to go in that direction in the first place. I believe Billy Bush was in on it.
Well, if we were all Me Too advocates, there would be a lot of people on the left that would have went down by now, too. So.
Well, and if people don't think Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, even I should name some Republicans here. The only ones I don't suspect would talk like that are maybe like Mitt Romney and George W. Bush. But there's plenty of people on both sides now who, in front of men, will say things like that. Right? You think, what was his name? Emmanuel, the New York mayor, the Chicago mayor that worked for Obama, that nasty little guy, Rahm Emanuel? You don't think he's made similar stuff? Come on. He got caught.
To say it, but you played sports. I've played sports. Every locker room, that stuff like that comes up. And it's not what you want to bring up at a dinner party, but that's what's in a locker room. So
it was disappointing that he said it because you just want a president to think differently. Even if you know they don't, you don't want to really see it. It's not a good look. And you know what? I understand why women would be upset with this, of course.
Right. No, you gotta be careful what you say when you're someone like Trump. But then again, he didn't know he was being taped because that was outside of the trailer they were in. But and I'm not I'm not condoning it. I'm just. Do you remember?
But you remember the press was trying to make him look like he was crazy when he was saying the Obama administration is spying on me. They knew. The press knew the FBI was watching him.
Well, at the very beginning, when he was saying that, they said, "Well, he's just like Ross Perot." Remember how crazy Ross Perot was, and they were bringing up Ross Perot tapes.
You want to hear something funny? I voted for Ross Perot.
I did too. I did too, because I think most of us.
It's our fault.
I think a lot of people wanted change and wanted to get out of the two rail party system.
Well, I think George Bush Sr. sort of showed. It seemed like he was out of touch. Lost his fastball. And Ross Perot was saying a lot of intelligent things, especially about the problem at the border and with trade and all this stuff. So I don't know. I thought he made the best argument.
Well, Perot would used to bring up those charts. And he'd say, I don't want to talk about it. I want to look at the numbers.
We can't shoot from the hip on this one.
Yeah. I don't know what y'all are talking about, but let's look at the numbers. Every time you bring up the numbers, it would just kill the narrative for everyone else because it's like, oh, boy.
And his wealth put Trump's to shame.
Yeah, for sure.
I saw his home in Bermuda. It was like 100 rooms. In Bermuda, right. Bermuda is one of the most expensive places in the world.
Right. But they scared Ross Perot. That was the first time I thought there had to be a deep state that was working because they went after him about his daughter, whatever that was about. And then that's when he sort of unhinged and basically stopped, got out of the race.
Do you remember the guy I worked for as a spokesman for his campaign? He ran against John Kerry. His name was Jeff Beatty. He was a former Delta Force captain, CIA, FBI, real serious guy. And he with $900,000 in his campaign. The Mass GOP was going against him because Ron Kaufman had made a deal with John Kerry not to run anybody. And the guy they were going to run intentionally didn't get the signatures, and they didn't count on Jeff Beatty doing it. And Jeff Beatty said something to us that were, listening to him. He said, it's going to be decades before we are free of the deep-seated plants the Clintons put in bureaucracies across Washington, where they are going to sabotage a lot of conservative things and conservative politicians. And it rings true today.
But that's Ken. That's exactly what the problem is right now. Is that he tried Trump tried to put together what he thought was a good team, but that team was completely undermined by the people that were working for the team.
There's a learning curve, because he basically did it with almost all outsiders because everybody else was taken or was afraid to get in the way of the big machine.
Right.
And so there's a learning curve. He wasn't able to finish that learning curve before he got the kick.
But who is on the Biden team? When you go down the list, they're either ex-Obama or they're ex-Hillary Clinton people. The whole team. So who's running the country?
Well, to their credit though, they do know how to win elections.
Yeah, well, if lie, cheat. Well, there was a poll not too long ago that some of the hardcore progressive liberals said that like 39 or 40% said lying, cheating, and stealing, to do whatever you got to do to win is all good.
By any means necessary.
It's not about fair play.
Yeah, and how about these protests, though? We go from Occupy Wall Street, right, to the BLM, to this Israeli thing. These are the same people. Antifa is deeply embedded here. We know George Soros has contributed money. Have you looked at the tents and the coolers? They're all the same. Somebody's sponsoring this thing.
I'm sure that someone took a credit card. I was mentioning this to my wife when we were watching, especially when they were breaking the UCLA campus down, and then it looked like the entire thing was catered by Crate and Barrel. I mean, when you look at all those dishes, there's napkins, and they're in all the tents and stuff. I thought, someone went down to REI and just went in the tent department, put a credit card down, Daddy's credit card. I want 100 tents, because look how fast they built that up with brand new stuff. It wasn't like the place in Portland where they did it with wallpaper and cardboard.
Yeah. Tom, we get a break for a commercial, whether I want to or not. I appreciate the call as always, and we're going to talk about a development with a big corporation who stuck their nose out defending the pro-Palestinian protesters. We'll be right back with that. You're listening to Ken Pittman.
Sam.
Favorite guitar riffs of the 80s, and that's saying something. So, the owner of Hims and Hers, it's mostly known for Hims. It's a hair loss and erectile dysfunction service company. They provide products to overcome those two things, and now they're doing it for women. But he is a Palestinian, the CEO, and he said he's specifically going to hire these anti-Israel protesters. And since he made that statement 2 days ago, the company's stock has dropped almost 10%. And you can expect that to continue as investors are pulling away from that. And it'd be interesting to see how that works, because I notice a lot of the people getting arrested seem to be transfluent type individuals. And I wonder if they're going to want to work for Hims and not be offended by the title of the company that they're being invited to go and apply to. It seems to me there's a little conflict there. And this is the crazy world we live in, because we've let liberalism run amok. There is sound liberalism. There are sound thinking liberals with good policies and good intended policies. They have been eclipsed and silenced, and now they're paralyzed with fear if they go against this far left movement, which we knew incrementally it was going to happen, because that's what happens, right? There's reasons why people like to be conservative, because there are reasons for not resisting radical change. Nobody should be opposed to changes for the better. Sometimes the liberals make changes for the better. That's no doubt. But most of the liberal policies and things like this today are regressive, not progressive. They're harmful. And we now have girls who are being told they can't compete in girl sports if they don't let a former boy or man compete against them, even though they're at such an incredible disadvantage due to the testosterone that individual still has in their blood and bones. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. I'm not sorry. And so now those who point to, the emperor has no clothes, they're getting punished. There's a Democrat who stood up against Joe Biden and pointed out some things Joe Biden wasn't to do. He's now been investigated by the FBI, and he's facing numerous years in jail for money laundering, which is fine. But they didn't do that until he did that. You know, it's the timing is definitely interesting. Show me the person, I'll give you the crime. This is not the Washington that our founders wanted. This is tyrannical, what we're seeing. We'll come back in a few minutes. You're listening to the Ken Pittman Show on AM 1420 WBSM. Much more to come. We'll talk to Ryan a little bit more. We haven't really picked your brain about your thoughts on how well the Pats did or didn't do in the draft. We'll get to all that after this.
That ain't working. That's the way you do it. You play the guitar on the MTV. That ain't working. That's the way you do it. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. Money for nothing. Chicks for free.
WBSM and W258DR, New Bedford, a Town Square media station.